Doing?
Karen.
All
Hey,
right.
Tim, how you doing? We're going to talk about the buyers today and
Okay.
do some buyer paperwork later on, and you don't have to stick around for it. But in the meantime, you take the floor, Sam, and let me know if you need screen share.
You got it. So we're talking pretty much about buyers. Let me fix the screen here for you. So it's important to know when, hold on. Okay. It's important to know when you sit with buyers to see if they're pre-qualified or not. Now, I don't want to go into a dissertation on how to qualify buyers, but there's 4 things that I look at when, hold on, computer's acted up. Hold on. All right, that's better. Hold on. Okay, you can hear me, you can't see me.
Here, and we can see you.
Oh, you can see me? All right, perfect. All right, as long as you can see me. There's 4 things that I use to pre-qualify buyers. I use the acronym I to C: income, debts, assets, and credit. Now, when I started back 26 years ago, the realtors used to tell me you can use 3 times the income to qualify people. Well, that's no longer the case. You could do more than that. But you want to find out what a particular person is making for a living. If you have someone making $50,000 and they're looking at $500,000 houses, in the back of your mind, I want you to think somewhere that might be an issue. That's 10 times their income. With the rates being as low as they are, figure somebody could qualify for about 4, sometimes 5 times their income, depending on the taxes. So if you have someone making 50, it's not inconceivable to qualify them between 200 and 250. But we want to find out what they're making a year. When you give me a pre-approval letter and I call people, I will ask whether they're a W-2 employee or a self-employed. The reason being is that if they're self-employed, I want them to send me their last 2 years' tax returns, because you have a lot of people say they're self-employed and, I make $80,000 a year. However, when you get to their adjusted gross income and what they pay Uncle Sam, they may only be showing $40,000 or $30,000 a year. So anytime we have self-employed buyers, immediately I have them send over their tax returns so I could get a better idea. Once I know what their income is, I want to see what their debts are, their liabilities. Now, when I say liabilities, I mean not car insurance, not gas and electric, not phone or cable, but we want to see what their monthly installment payments are. Minimum on their credit cards, their car, if they have any car or student loans, things of that nature. Then I want to look at what are their assets. This is a frequent issue where I'll have people who make really good money, 100, 150,000, 200,000, but only have a limited amount of money to work with. And my realtor will call me and say, Sam, can we go higher if we get a 2-family? And in many cases, it's not an income issue, but it's money out of pocket. You're going to need, between down payment and closing on an FHA loan, probably somewhere around 7% to 8% of the sales price. So it's gotten a little bit more difficult now. As Karen could tell you, a few years ago, we would a lot of times build the closing costs into the loan. But with the sales prices going at full price and above full price, it's almost impossible now to work sellers' concessions into the loan. So that means the buyer has to come up with the minimum down payment, 3.5%, plus all their closing costs. Closing costs are usually, on the average, anywhere from 3 to 5% of the sales price. So if you have somebody making real good income with real good credit, but they only have $20,000 or $30,000 worth to work with, they are going to be limited on what they can buy. That's an important thing, because In many cases, like, the people that have great income, but they're limited on what they can. That's when, I speak to them about possibly dipping into their 401k or something to that effect. So, and the last thing we want to, well, not the last thing, but we want to check their credit. It's very important. Now, I pay extra to do what's called a soft pull. It's very important for me when you refer me a client that I at least have, their 3 credit scores, and I do a soft pull. So this way they're not hit with a hard inquiry, because that's everybody's concern. Sam, will it affect my credit? But it's hard for me to give them an answer. I use the analogy, if your chest hurts and you go to the doctor, there's no way to know if you have a pneumonia or not unless he takes a chest x-ray. It's imperative for me to take a soft pull on their credit to see what we're dealing with. On a conventional, on an FHA mortgage, we're looking for credit scores over 600. On an on a conventional mortgage, FHA over 600. On a conventional mortgage, we're looking for credit scores preferably over 660. So it's kind of a process. When somebody calls me, or I get an email or a text and say, "Hey Sam, Mr. and Mrs. Smith looking to buy a house. Can we pre-qualify them?" There is a litany of stuff that I do with them, ask them questions, run their credit, look at their assets. And then after that also, it's very important that I sit with them and see where they're comfortable at. You'll have people who can qualify for a $500,000 house, but when I ask them, say, "Okay, you're good," I say, "Where do you like to keep your payment?" "Well, we don't want to be over $2,000 a month." Well, that's not going to happen. So you try to find a comfort zone of where they're comfortable with a payment and what they could qualify for. Any questions as far as, when you send buyers over, what else you should look at? It's a very important, I will never forget, about 25 years ago, one of my offices in Plainfield, this was back when Saturday, the offices would be hopping. I had one of my agents call me and say, "Sam, come in. I've been showing these people houses all day. They signed a contract." Great. Headed out there Saturday afternoon, sat with the people. I sit in the conference room with the gentleman and I say, "Okay, perfect. How much you making a year?" "I'm unemployed." And it was a lesson learned. And he told the realtor, "Listen, you wasted 4 hours of your Saturday time bringing people around when the gentleman didn't have a job." So before you spin your wheels or waste your time, I encourage you, have them call me. Let me get their information. If they come in with a pre-approved letter, I would encourage you to call the mortgage rep on that letter immediately. And I always tell people, if that mortgage rep talks to you and tells you what you want to know, you're in good hands. If you have to call that mortgage rep 10 times or he doesn't get back to you, that's just going to be a glimpse of what's to come if you take that deal. And it's sad to say. So, but it's very important before you waste your time. If somebody is serious and wants to go out, have them call me. You know what? Let's get them pre-approved. Let's get them looked at, run their credit, take a look at their income, their bank statements, and then we could go from there.
I have a question with the credit. There is 3 credit bureaus that you have to pull when you do that soft pull. You said for conventional, does each one have to be over, what was it, 660?
You want 2? That's a good question. 2 of the 3 scores have to be over 660. As most mortgage companies, we take the middle score. So if somebody has a 680, 660, and a 630, we're fine. We're going to look at the 660 and the 680. But what we want to do is, a lot of times, is that soft pull will also determine if there was a bankruptcy that was filed, if there was a foreclosure. Certain things are going to pop up. I have one now that, FHA deal, and popped up that they were in default of their student loans. That's a big issue, because the FHA is a government loan, and the government's not going to give you a loan if you're delinquent or defaulted on a previous government loan.
Makes sense.
So student loans are constantly an issue. Another thing with student loans, and it's important, they changed the FHA guidelines. It used to be where if somebody had 100,000 in student loans, but were on a payment plan of, let's say, $150 a month, that's all the debt we would have to use. The government has changed that. We have to now use the fully amortized payment or 1% of the loan amount. So, meaning that if somebody has 100,000 in student loans, I might have to use $1,000 as the payment in order to qualify them. It has killed many a deal. What I like to do is to have to, and it takes a little work sometimes, call the student loan people and ask them for the fully amortized payment. In many cases, it's less than that 1% that would show under credit. Ladies, any questions?
Yeah, Sam, what did you say the average closing costs are again?
That's good. The average closing costs run between 3 to 5% of the sales price. Now, when I talk about closing costs, I talk about there's three things that encompass that. There's the mortgage rep or the mortgage banking fees. There's the attorney fees, and there's your prepaids and escrows. The mortgage or bank fees are probably, with appraisal and stuff, they're probably going to run anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500, depending on the mortgage company or the bank. Then you have attorney fees. Now, most attorneys in Hudson County charge anywhere from $1,250 to as high as $2,000. You know, most of them are probably around $1,500. You have title cost. Title insurance is probably anywhere in the vicinity of $2,000 to $2,500. You have recording fees that when the loan is sold, recorded with the county, there's a $450 recording fee. And then you have what's called your prepaids and escrows, where the bank's going to hold 2 months taxes, and the city's usually going to request another 2 or 3 months taxes. You're going to have to pay your homeowner's insurance up front for the full year. And then there's prepaid interest. So when you add all of those fees together, that's going to equate to about 3 to 5% of the sales price.
Plus your down payment if you're doing FHA 3.5%.
Exactly.
So therefore you come up with the 7 to 8%.
It was easier 3-4 years ago when, you know what, Karen sells a house at 310. It's listed for 310. She sells it for 300. What we would do is we would leave the sales price at 310 and ask the seller to give us 10,000 back toward closing. What it was is a fancy way for the buyers to finance their closing costs. In this particular market where prices are going at full price and over full price, the appraisal is not going to come over that just in order to incorporate the seller's concessions. So it's right now, buyers need their minimum down payment and their closing cost.
And just another question. When a buyer's putting in a contract, what kind of makes them attractive as to, for you guys, like to say, okay, I'm going to put 20% down, or if they say they're going to put 22% down, like, does that kind of stuff make a difference?
I think so. I mean, and Karen might be more versed, but as far as the sellers, when they see, especially in this particular market, when they see a conventional deal with 20% down compared to an FHA deal, chances are they're going to go with the higher conventional down payment. Especially now, whereas if there may be an appraisal issue, well, if you have a buyer who's putting 20% down and the house doesn't appraise, they still have the wherewithal to put up enough down payment to make up the difference. Whereas somebody who's doing an FHA may have limited funds. So buyers in this particular market are looking for conventional mortgages, and they are looking for higher down payments. Now, where it becomes sometimes an issue is on a multifamily. When you do a conventional mortgage on a two-family house, you need 15% down in order to do the conventional. There is a program with 5% down for certain census tract for certain parts of the city, but there's usually income restrictions. So if you have a $500,000 or $600,000 two-family, usually the income you need to require to get approved for that is above what's required for the 5% down program. So in 99.9 cases on a conventional two-family, you need 10% down. So a lot of people do have the 10% down. I take that back. You need 15% down. A lot of people do have 10% down, but they can't go conventional. So with the 10% down, we're forced to go FHA. Most people know FHA as 3.5% down, and it is. But these last 2 years, I've done a ton of FHA 5 and 10% down multifamily houses.
From a listing agent standpoint, when you do a FHA, they will, the FHA stay in a database if it doesn't appraise, correct?
No, yes and no. If your deal falls apart and I take a brand new deal with a new customer for that particular house, I'm allowed to cancel the old case number and order a new one. So in this past 2 years, I've had, I would say, at least 5 or 6 where I came in and redid the FHA loan because the previous FHA appraiser dramatically underappraised the house. And what I do is, being a control freak, my appraisers are people that I've worked with for 20 years. So I will call them and say, hey, listen, I have a house. You know what? It underappraised this time. What do you think? And if they say, hey, Sam, we can do this, then I'm going to take the deal in. Similarly, and Yoli and I had a deal once, and I've done it a few times. If my appraiser goes out there and let's say the list price is 400 and he comes in and calls me up, he says, Sam, the best I could get is 380. I will tell my appraiser, do me a favor, hold it, don't submit it. I will then order another appraisal. I'll pay for it out of my pocket and have another person go out there and see what the value is. Because at that point, I could come back to you with a clear conscience and say, hey, listen, I sent 2 different appraisers out there, and unfortunately, the value wasn't there. Or in many cases, the second appraiser I send out there comes through with the value.
Right.
So, I mean, for me, that's important. And like I said, the more I can control in a deal, the stronger I know that deal is going to close.
Sam, I have a question. I just keep hearing, like, you know, with first-time home buyers, it's like FHA will be the way to go, but FHA is not looked upon favorable. Like, it gets knocked out of the box when it comes to the bidding table. Like, what can a FHA, if they putting down 3%? I mean, like, if they could put down more, then by all means, but most first-time home buyers want to put down the least amount. How can they get around that if they're going to compete with a lot of conventional?
It's a great question, but unfortunately, there's nothing now you can do. I mean, and FHA does, and I think wrongfully so, have a stigma. Many older people are worried, you know, they think of FHA back from the 70s when the repair issue was extremely difficult. It's not the case anymore. But when you're competing in this market against a good conventional buyer who has 15 or 20% down, there's nothing you could do when you have an FHA, unfortunately. And, you know, it's hard to go over the bidding price with an FHA because it may not appraise. So it makes it, unfortunately, the good FHA buyer now has been pushed to the side these last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's few and far between.
Mm-hmm. I took a little break. How is the market right now? Is it still like that 20, 30 over the asking price?
You know what? I haven't seen it. It's still going pretty much close to asking. And probably Karen will be better off, you know, but it has cooled down a little bit, but I haven't seen too many, you know, go like where buyers are negotiating a much less of a sales price.
Mm-hmm.
Cool down.
Cool down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're not having the bidding wars that we had 4 or 5 months ago. I've seen that.
Yeah, that was heartbreaking. Heartbreaking.
If you have a really good house that's priced right, there will people be out there bidding.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're working with those FHA, try to get them to put as much of their down payment up front so that they look stronger versus
Right.
putting only 1,000 or 2,000 or
Exactly.
2,500. Put the whole 12,500 up front so that they can see that they're serious.
Right,
That's a
that's a
great
good
point.
point. Mhm.
Yeah. And the other thing is, especially in the Jersey City, Bayonne, Hoboken area, you'll have FHA buyers who are looking to buy condominiums. That's a problem. Most of the condominiums in Hudson County are not FHA approved. So I'm constantly telling, you know what, I have FHA buyers, but you know what? There's very few units. So if you have a condominium complex, by all means, call me up. I will look at the HUD list and see if that's on the approved list. I'm actually doing a FHA approved condo in Piscataway, which caught me off guard. The buyer called me and said, Sam, I think it's on the approved list. I looked it up and sure enough, it was. So it's one of the few that I've done in the last, I want to say 5 years, getting an FHA, an FHA condo.
Mhm.
Also with conventional, you will hear the word warrantable and non-warrantable. What does that mean? You could have a perfect buyer, 20% down, great credit, conventional, but the condo unit that they're looking to buy is not approved as per Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, meaning you may have a condo that the majority of it isn't owner occupied, it's renters. That's an issue. You may have a condo where one person or one entity owns more than 15% of the building. That's an issue. You may have a condo where there's not enough reserves in the budget, or there's a vast amount of people who are delinquent on their HOA, or you have a condo which has litigation against it. All those things, you're going to have an issue. We're going to either have to do a 25% down with a higher rate, and or I'll have to do some searching. There are some banks that will do, depending on where it is, non-warrantable condos with less money down.
Peter. Well, I mean, like, how can you find this information up front? Like,
What I like, that's a great question. What I like to do I tell all my realtors, listen, I said, if you're not the listing agent, talk to the listing agent and just ask them a couple questions, or you know what? And sometimes if they give me the association, I'll send a condo questionnaire over there prior to. Unfortunately, there's usually a fee to that, so they don't like to fill it out first. But I say, listen, ask the people in the complex, have they gotten other conventional mortgages recently? I mean, do most of my biggest one I ask all the time is it mostly owner occupant?
right, because there was one over there in Country Village, Doobie. And he told the listing agent said they just changed over property management. It was just horrible.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know if it was the actual unit was a Section 8 and they didn't upkeep it. And I wanted to know like how many of the units are renters. He said, oh, no, they're all owners. They're all owners. So I didn't really trust that, but it's like, how can you find that out for sure?
Until we get to, and what I do is when we submit the loan, in fact, my company's pretty diligent with, they don't want loan officers submitting condo deals without all the information from the condo association, that we have their name, their phone number, their email, so we could get a condo questionnaire out ASAP. Because trust me, I've had problems where the association has not or will not fill it out, and we get it back at the last minute, and it comes to find out that these units are not at Fannie Mae warrantable.
And they go ahead. Would they fall on that list that you check?
Well, on FHA they will, but really there's no longer a Fannie Mae list. There used to be back in the day, but so that's why they send a questionnaire out to make sure there are certain guidelines that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have to be approved conventionally. Stuff that we just spoke about, mostly owner occupant. No one person or entity owns more than 15% of the building. That they have an ample amount of reserves. That people are the majority of the people in the condo are paying their HOA on time. There's no litigation against the building. So, providing that's all good, then we could do it.
That should be public record.
See, the problem is a lot of associations, you have, or like in Bayonne is an issue because there might be 10 units and one of the owners is ahead of the association. And it's like, they're doing it as a
Favor.
quasi part-time job, and it's like they're doing you a favor when you call it. You know what? They're not responsive, so it makes it difficult in many instances.
What about spot approvals for condos? Do United Motors do that?
We don't do them because back in the day, we used to do them a lot. They did away with it for years. About 2-3 years ago, they brought them back. They've been a problem. So I rather than to bring a loan in and wish or cross our fingers that it gets a spot approval. I rather say,
What's that?
Karen, you know what? Let Wells Fargo do it and mess it up. I don't want to mess it up.
Karen, what was that?
A spot approval is where they do the condo approval for a unit for FHA.
Oh,
Other questions, guys? You got Sam the man here.
Whatever you need. And listen, if you have any, there are a lot of new programs coming back out. As I
Oh,
was
really?
telling, and I do them, and I'm not crazy about doing them only because I have to broker them out to another company, and I hate losing control. However, within the last 6 months, I have closed 5 investor deals where they do what's called a debt service ratio, where we're not using any tax returns. We're just qualifying the buyer based on the rents of the property they're buying.
mm,
So if the rents are greater than the mortgage payment, we could do that loan.
mm-hmm.
The interest rates are probably in the mid to high 5s, but I've had now, in the last 6 months, I've had 5 of them that closed. Also now the no income loan is back in fashion, where you could do it on a primary residence, no income. We have where you have an employee verification loan, where let's say you have somebody who works, for argument's sake, gets paid a little bit on the books and off, but their owner's willing to state what they fully get. We won't ask for pay stubs. We won't ask for tax returns. We will just ask for a fully completed verification of employment. Now, keep in mind, these programs usually require a little higher credit score. I would say from 680 to 700 at least. They're going to require, usually a larger down payment, somewhere around 10 to 15% minimum, but they're good programs.
Why you don't have a program for a lower down payment for a second property? Why we have to put down 25%?
10.
Well, I have somebody like on a 1 family, you could do with 15% down.
No, 2 family, Sam.
2 family, the least you could do now is 20%, and that's going to be a higher rate. Fannie and Freddie, when I say Fannie and Freddie, they are in terms conventional. Conventional mortgages unfortunately require 25% down on investment property. That's because prior to when 2007, 2008, we were literally doing investment properties with 5% down and no income.
Oh my goodness.
And the market got killed. And I don't think you're going to see, the banks are still very apprehensive about doing investment properties. So much so that, about 9 months ago, the banks raised the interest rates almost a full point on all investment properties and second homes. It was almost like they were trying to deter people from doing it because the fallout rate on investment properties is a lot higher, especially during the pandemic. People were out of work. They paid their primary house, but how were they going to pay their investment property when the tenants were told they didn't have to pay rent? So the days of buying an investment property with less than 20% down, I don't see it.
So what if I transfer a deed to a family member and then buy a 2 family and live in one of the units?
Do you still have we'd have to look at it. If the mortgage is still in your name, whether you transfer the deed or not, that might be an issue.
Oh, so it's the mortgage. Okay.
It's the mortgage. Exactly. You know what? If you transfer the deed to your daughter or your brother, but you still have a $300,000 mortgage on that house, that's what the banks are going to look at. They know what you're trying to do. So I tell them, listen, I will try and beat the wheel with you, but you know what? It has changed. So you're a limited. Give an example. You used to be able to have 2 FHA mortgages. If you had 25% equity, or if you had a reason for moving, you're moving out of a 3-family into a bigger 1 or a bigger 2. Now, in order to have 2 FHA mortgages, one of the requirements is you have to move at least 100 miles away from your current FHA mortgage.
That's
So-
not bad.
No, it's not. But for the person who used to have 2 or 3 FHA mortgages, and we used to do them in Jersey City, you can't do that no more. So now the person who has a FHA mortgage in Georgia who gets transferred up to Jersey City and wants another FHA mortgage, not an issue.
Nancy.
So can you talk a little bit about the investor that's self-employed that wants to purchase and it's their first home? So they want a 2-family, self-employed,
Again,
primary.
what the first thing I want to do is look at their tax returns. One of the programs I have with a bank that I work closely with is I have a program where if I look at their tax returns with 25% down, the bank will say, hey, listen, Mr. Smith drives an Uber. He grows $400,000 a year, but he only shows the government that he makes 40. The bank is going to look at the 400,000 and say, hey, listen, we're going to do this loan. They're going to keep it in their portfolio and they'll give them a 5-year arm at like 4 3/4 interest rate. It's a great program.
So he
For the
still has to
person-
do 25% if he's the primary, if it's his primary?
On that particular loan. When you have a self-employed buyer, it all comes down to the income. Kara, if the income is sufficient, we could do a multifamily 3.5% down FHA. But with self-employed buyers, the problem is, in many cases, even ones who are making a lot of money, they show gross a lot of money, but they claim very little. And that's why with those particular buyers, we have to kind of think of out of the box, and put them in different programs.
Like what?
That's
Because
why
that's basically all of us.
Thank you, Ella.
We're all self-employed, not trying to pay
Yeah, we all
taxes.
self-employed.
Yes.
We all
Yes.
on that.
Unfortunately, though, you know what? Uncle Sam says, listen, if you're a realtor and you make $200,000 a year, but after all your deductions, you're only showing 50, you can't cut it both ways. I'm going to have to use only the 50.
Okay, another question on this. So, like, you as a self-employed realtor, you need to show that you've been doing the same job for a couple of years, right?
2 years.
2 years. Okay, what if I want to go to another state, like the West Coast, and do real estate? And, it's going to take me a few months to get a license, to get clients again, and like get rolling again. So there's going to be a break in that. And then on top of that, does it have to be me like selling real estate, like retail real estate, or could I be doing other services that bring me income around real estate, like video
It's a good
marketing?
question. The problem is you're going to need probably mostly 2 years, but at least 1 year back under your belt. If you were successful selling real estate in Jersey City and you moved to Cali, I can't use your Jersey City income to qualify you. It's a moot point. But if let's say you went out there and started selling in the first year, you made terrific numbers. I can make the argument to my underwriter that, listen, she was successful in Jersey City, moved to Cali, and look at her tax returns for that year in Cali. They would use that. But if that first year in Cali you didn't do well, we're going to need 2 years.
Oh, good
Do
stuff.
I have to be selling real estate, or could I just be like involved in the real estate industry doing other things where I can show income?
Put it this way, as long as it's still a commission, if you went from being a realtor commission to a property manager and it's not commission based, you know what? Now, let me backtrack. If you went from being a realtor that gets paid 1099 to now you're doing property management and you're W-2, I could use that income because now you're on the payroll.
Okay,
Well-
but what if it's other self-employed stuff like marketing for real estate, arbitrage for Airbnb, stuff like that, where I'm a
You're probably gonna need 2 years. It's almost because even though it's real estate, it's not the same type of real estate that you were doing. You know, it's, if I have people, you know what, someone's been a truck driver for the last 3 or 4 years, you know what? And then went and opened up a deli or luncheonette. In the first year, they made a ton of money. It's no good. I need 2 years because it's a whole new industry. And the banks want to see a 2-year history and average that out.
And I gotta show that I make 5 times the value of the property, right?
And usually, yes. And again, that will vary depending on the taxes. You know what? If your taxes are, if I'm making 60,000 and the property I'm looking at, the taxes are $14,000 a year, we might not be able to go to a $300,000 home. We might only have to go to a 225 or 250 because the taxes are so much higher. So that plays into it also.
Yeah.
So when I say use that 5, I just want you to think of, if you sit with someone and they make $50,000 a year and they want you to start showing them $750,000 two families, hey, listen, don't waste your time.
Even waste your time. That's a no-brainer.
And that's what I think, you know what? I think the newer realtors get it. Back in the day, realtors 20 years ago would take clients out without pre-approving them first.
No.
You know what? Time is a valuable commodity. You know what? Your time means money. So if you're going to go out and, spend time with somebody, make sure that it's going to pay off.
You need to know their buying power. They could be up, down, all around.
Exactly.
And then when they sit down, it's like, oops, I only make 25,000 a year. Really?
And you want to know what they're willing to afford. I learned a hard lesson when I first started in the business. Gentlemen came in, made really good money, good credit. They realtors said, what can I show them? Oh, you could show them up to 300,000. They signed a contract. I go sit with the buyer and I told him his mortgage payment. And he said, I don't want to pay that. He said, I'm not spending more than X amount.
Mm-hmm.
So now when somebody tells me they're looking at something and they have what they work with, I said, okay, you realize your payment is going to be X amount.
Right.
And in many instances, they say, oh, wow, we didn't know that.
Right.
Where were you looking to spend? No, that's too much for us. Okay, that's perfect. Then we need to come down a little bit.
Right. That's what I told the young lady this morning. I had a whole discussion with her, because she started out with a rental, 1,700. I said, if you want to stay there or maybe go a little up because it's a house, that's something you sit down and talk with the mortgage specialist.
Remember, if you have somebody renting for 1,700, that's the equivalent of probably a $2,200 or $2,300 mortgage payment, because at the end of the year, that person can write off their taxes and their mortgage interest on their 1040 tax returns. The
Right.
renter can't.
Right. That's exactly what I told her. So.
All right,
And
last
on top-
question.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Jolie.
No, go ahead, Li. I was just agreeing.
Okay, last question pertaining to me. How much do I have to show if I'm self-employed for 2 years, making money, and I want to get a 2-family owner occupant, 650,000 with moderate $12,000 taxes? Like, how much do I have to show that I make after I do my deductions?
500,000. Okay.
Well, this is what I'm gonna tell you is, as long as your liabilities, meaning that if your liabilities aren't crazy, then if you made 90, 85, 90, you'd be in the ballpark, because with the rental income on that other unit, I'm sure we could be able to get you where you need to be. Now, with that being said, saying, if you're driving a Range Rover at $1,100 a month and you have $2,000 in credit card minimal bills, we have a problem.
Yeah, and that's
Oh.
gross, you mean, right? Showing the 80,
Yes.
90. Okay,
Yes.
got it. Thank you.
Yeah, that is
That's 90,000 gross or net?
No, gross. And people don't realize that when we do that's a great point. when we pre-qualify people, W-2 income, we look at their gross income. So that's the other reason when, when you sit with people, say, listen, you make $100,000 a year. However, you're only bringing home pretty much probably 72 to 75. That's what you have to live on. But I could qualify them based on that 100.
But the debt in itself needs to be to a minimum. Otherwise, you knock your numbers off.
Exactly. Now, with that being said, my company, when you do a loan, most companies run what's called a DU or an LP, which means they run it through the system and either FHA or Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac approves it. Now, to give you an example, your qualifying ratios on an FHA are 31-43. So your housing expense is 31, your debt to income is 43. However, on a good FHA loan, I'm pretty comfortable. I've seen the system take 44 to 56. Now, we have people we sell to that as long as DU approves it, they will buy the loan. There are other companies that they're rigid on their qualifications. So it's not inconceivable that if somebody has a 42 housing ratio and a 54 debt to income ratio, one bank might not want to do it. However, I'll do that loan all day.
Just get qualified and see if we qualify. That's what you're basically saying. Let you figure out which mortgage company that you're running through.
Exactly. So, and you know what? And whatever. And my biggest thing is when I sit with people, and you know what? A lot of times their debt to income ratio will be high, and I will ask them, listen, how are you going to make this payment? I don't want to be calling you in 6 months and hear that you can't make the payment. That's not what I want to do. Regardless if I lose the deal or not, I want to be able to look at customers and being able to know that they can, they can afford the house. And if a lot of times says, hey, Sam, my cousin or my brother's moving in with me, he makes $40,000 a year, but his credit is bad, so we can't put him on a mortgage. At least that makes me feel more at ease that I know these people are going to be able to pay the mortgage.
Hey, Sam, I got a question. Sorry, Karen, go ahead.
Oh, I said Remy's got a question.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, the situation you gave earlier, Sam, where you were saying the person makes 100K, but their really take home is 72K. Was that situation someone you were given that was like a W-2 or a 1099? But you
W-2.
So on that W-2, you can approve them on the gross and not the adjusted.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But if they're 1099, you approve them on the adjusted gross, not the gross.
Exactly, the adjusted gross.
Got it.
He's exactly right.
Thank you, buddy.
What's adjusted
Anytime.
Gross? That's adjusted gross is minus deductions?
Yep.
Minus expenses and stuff? Okay.
If you see your tax return, LI, and it'll say what you made in commissions and then all your write-offs, and then it will say adjusted gross income. That's what you grossed minus all your deductions. That is your adjusted gross income.
So back to my example, if I want to get that 650,000 two families or occupant, I got to go adjusted gross of 80, 90 grand.
Exactly.
We're going to get that house, LI.
And the debt of how much?
Well, again, if you want to keep the debt, I have to see it as long as it's not crazy. If it's long as under probably $700-800 a month, we should be okay. Also, too, remember that the rental income plays a part in it. On an FHA loan now, I'll give you FHA. In order to use 75% of the rental income, you need 6 months reserves on a multifamily.
Mhm.
If you only have 3 months reserves, you can only use 50% of the rental income. So
Wait, back up, Sam. I was distracted. Say that.
Go ahead.
Start
On
over.
an FHA mortgage, since COVID, they changed the guidelines.
Oh.
If you're buying a multifamily house, in order for me to use 75, because you can never use 100% of the income, of the rental income. But in order for you to use 75% of the rental income, you need 3 months reserves. I mean,
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, 6 months reserves.
6 months.
If you only have 3 months reserves, you can only use 50.
So that
When you
means
say-
if my mortgage is $3,000 a month, I need $18,000 in the bank to show that I have 6 months reserved to get
Or-
75% of the rental income.
Exactly. Or Kara, it could be a pension or 401k, as long as we could show you have access to that money. So if you have somebody who has 400,000 in their 401k or whatever, that usually it's not a problem. A lot of times, most people have money in some sort of quasi retirement account that covers some of it or all of the reserves.
And this is what, when you buy in or what?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So not only do I have to have my 3.5% down payment, I need my 3.5% closing costs, and I need my extra 18,000 for reserves. So that means I need about 60,000.
If you're buying a multifamily, yes.
Okay.
There's a lot of different, like, I mean, I'll throw something people don't realize. If you're buying an FHA 3 or 4 family to live in, okay, you're putting minimum down. The FHA has what's called a self-sufficiency rule. What they do is they take the rents on every unit, even the one you're going to occupy. They total that rental up. They take 75% of it. In order to purchase that house, that figure has to be higher than the mortgage payment. So it's a big issue in Jersey City where if somebody makes great income, buying a 3-family downtown for $900,000, put a minimum down, qualifies easily, but the mortgage payment is high and the rents are low. So it's very important. When I tell all my realtors, when you do a multifamily, for the most part, please try not to put the rents on the contract, because chances are the rents are going to be lower than what market rents are. And I want to use the market rents because usually I can get them up higher.
That's a good tip, y'all. Did y'all hear that? Do not put the rents on there. So the line where it says the tenant and the rent, leave it blank.
In many cases, I will tell you, like, you know what, even if it's a 3-family and we need, I will say, put in that all units will be occupied, will be vacant by closing. Now, listen, if there's people in there who pay it on time, you could work whatever deal you want out, but we may need a higher rent payment to show. So that's why I'm going to tell you to do that.
Hey, Sam, it's Ramiz again. This may be a tax question, so feel free to ask your accountant if you don't know the answer. But let's say you got somebody that's dual career, someone like myself who's in banking, who's a W-2 earner, and then they're also doing real estate on the side. And this is, whatever, first couple years doing real estate, and they're going to try to potentially, talk to an accountant and get all the deductions for your monthly KW fees and all that stuff. In my situation, say I want to purchase a property for myself or an investment property, you would be, pre-approving me on my gross because I'm a W-2. But on the side, I'm also doing real estate on the side, and I'm going to try to get as many deductions for my real estate expenses. So what do you think in that situation? If you were to pre-approve
That is a great question. If in case like that, if you're working doing both jobs for a period of over 2 years, I'm going to use your W-2 income. Here's the fly in the ointment. If you're an active realtor still, and you're showing a loss on your 1099s, unfortunately, I have to carry that loss. If you're breaking even, it's not an issue. I use the W-2. If you're showing only a few $1,000s, it's perfect. I use the W-2 plus a few thousand. But if you're showing a loss on your 1099 job, I unfortunately have to subtract that now from what your W-2 earnings are.
That's important. Thank you so much.
No, that's a great question.
Too much then.
That's a great question. And that happens. Unfortunately, I will have people who make really good income, and I'll look at some of your tax returns and I'll say, oh, you have a side job. Oh yeah, I do consulting. Yeah, here's the problem. And I won't know it until I see their tax returns. On your Schedule C, your consulting job, you're losing money. And I've had people close their LLC down on their second job and get a letter from their accountant that it no longer exists, just in order not to able to carry that loss anymore.
Got to keep your expenses down. Thank you, Sam.
Oh, great question.
Can I qualify to buy either a single family home as an owner occupant, low down payment, or a 2-family home, owner occupant, low down payment. And then like when I'm not there, if I'm bi-coastal, Airbnb it out.
I remember we spoke about this. What you do in your own time is your business. However,
We
are you
talked about
supposed-
that during the credit
Yes,
thing.
are you supposed to do that? No. So
Okay.
again, same thing as I have people who buy FHA houses, multifamily. I know when I take the deal pretty much just by the tone that even though they're buying it as an owner occupant, they're not going to live there. What I do tell them is this: listen, protect yourself. Make sure your name is on the mailbox. Make sure you have mail going to there, because God forbid the FHA or the investor goes out and does a spot inspection and rings the doorbell and finds out that John Smith, who bought this house 4 months ago, is not living in it. They will force you to either refinance or they will start foreclosure proceedings.
Yeah, and this is good to know, and that's why it's good for me to understand, because I actually do want to live there. It's just that if I want to live 6 months on the East Coast and 6 months on the West Coast, they're like, and I don't have 25% down payment, right? Like, can I be an owner occupant with a legit owner occupant for half
Yes.
a year down payment,
Yeah,
and then
Yes,
go
absolutely.
rent
but
on the
that's
East
for one
Coast?
family, right? You speaking of a one family?
No, even
I
a
don't
two.
know.
Let's
One or
say,
two.
Ella, you buy a 2-family and you will have 1 unit occupant and you rent the other out. And you stay here for 6 months. And when you leave, you want to rent your unit out for 6 months. Here's the issue. Technically,
Right.
on an FHA, technically they want to see you live there for a year. But in either case,
Okay.
what you do privately, meaning like there are many people in Jersey City who do Airbnbs. Technically, it's against the law.
It is?
Now, I have friends of mine who do them, and you know what? They're willing to take that chance. So for me to tell you that when you're going to California, for the time being, you don't want, you know what? Hey, Sam, I can rent this out. That's your business. But
I
keep
just thought
somewhere.
I thought it was legal to, if you owner occupy unit 1, you can Airbnb unit 2. I thought they changed that law 2 Januaries ago, where the only way it's legal to do Airbnb is if you actually live in it, which it
On
would be my
site.
situation. So like, I want to be able to sleep at night. I want to be able to know that I'm like not committing mortgage fraud and all that. I want to do it legit. I'm just trying to figure out
Here's
what
the
is
thing,
the,
though.
huh?
Here's the thing. If you left that 1 unit and you're doing Airbnb, you live there for 6 months, and for the next 6 months, the Airbnb is not a regular tenant. Your name is still going to be on the mailbox. Your mail
Right.
is still going to be going to
It's
that
still
address.
gonna be you.
You're covered.
Yeah. Okay,
You're
so
covered.
I can do that. I could buy a 2-family in Jersey City, live there, and then in the winter, not live there and Airbnb it out, and it's cool, right?
I don't think there'd be an issue.
Okay.
You
Thank
asked
you.
that question. You asked that question as the credit thing. You want to make sure
I sometimes like
you overthinking it.
I need to hear
You're
it
too
twice.
young, Eli. You're supposed to remember. Only me. I'm old. I forget.
Get your Airbnb and go to California. I'll check on it for you.
Oh,
I gotta
love
do
it.
it here. I
You're
can't
gonna
do
need
it
a
in
property manager. I'll check on it.
Okay. I guess I gotta do it here because I can't do it in California because there's gonna be that lapse. So
Yeah, it's gonna be a
I
time
will say
difference.
this. In many instances, you know what? Very seldom do they come out and do that. But I will tell you this: if you were ever late or fall behind on your mortgage, most of these banks now come out and they go knocking on the door.
mhm.
So that's, it's a lot easier if you're making your payment. It's usually not an issue. And I mean, let's say, God forbid, you're paying a mortgage on time. If they knock on the door, is LI there? Well, she's on vacation. I'm her cousin. I'm sitting in. Your name's on the mailbox. We have utility bills go there. It's almost impossible for them to prove
Mhm.
that
Not there.
that's
What's
not
the
your primary
likelihood of
residence.
somebody knocking on your door checking like that?
Well, the likelihood it increases if you're 2 months late on your mortgage.
Oh. Why? Because the Airbnb not paying?
well, for whatever reason. So,
Mm.
you know what, if you're 2 months late on your mortgage and you have a
Foreclosure.
multifamily, you know, they might, or, you know, one family, whatever, they might come out there and knock on the door and say, you know what, is everything okay? What's the reason?
Oh, goodness. Is everything
And
okay?
if you're,
We didn't get no
and if
payment.
you're 1099 or self-employed, it even increases. They're less apt to do it with a W-2
They need to go
employee.
knock on some of these renter doors.
You're preaching to
That's
the
what they
choir,
need to
girl.
do.
So,
Now,
Yeah, and
that's not gonna happen.
if it's more than 4 units, if it's 5 or more, you're gonna get an inspection every 5 years anyway.
on a 3 and 4
From
family,
who?
yes.
From the mortgage people?
No, the
In
state.
the city.
The city?
You need, I was a green card every 5 years.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sam, you gotta help me figure out, get a 2-family, not with no 25% down.
For
Can I
you
put
and
it
I
in
will
my,
sit. I will do whatever I can, love.
that's my old lady money.
Hey, our realtors help us how to get by, us and the buyers.
Listen, I closed the loan, and thank God she was great, for Veronica, in your office. And, it was tough, but she had a employer who was willing to help us in whatever we needed to structure the loan. So again, if there's a way to do it, you know what, I will help you find it, and we will stretch the limits to whatever we need to.
What about my son?
So,
We have different last names.
well, however we have to do it and it works, we will.
Okay, I gotta keep my eyes open first.
All right, so we'll do whatever we
still got
have.
some
And listen,
paperwork to cover too, y'all.
yeah,
Oh,
but
Paperwork. We done.
if it's not gonna work, I'm gonna tell you
Get rid of
honestly.
the paperwork.
what happened.
Huh? What you say, Sam?
If it's not gonna work, I'm gonna be honest with you. Say, well, I can't do it. Now,
Yeah, I know.
does that
I know
mean
you're very
if you-
savvy though.
Yeah, I try to be. You know what? Unfortunately, though, sometimes I compete against people who don't just stretch the rules; they break them, and I can't compete with that.
Right, no. We
So-
don't want to break rules.
Yeah.
break
So
rules.
exactly.
We like rules. We like rules.
So,
Rules are
exactly. We're gonna use every avenue we can that's allowable to get you in that house.
Okay. Me and Cameron.
And LI.
And Ella
Listen, we
getting the
can't play.
California.
I didn't put LI in there.
No, she wants
Rebecca,
Jersey
we
City
gotta-
too. She don't want Cali. She wants Jersey. Her parents in Cali. That's
Yeah,
free. That's free income over there.
Yeah, so we have to put our money together so we can afford 25% down payments on small multifamilies to be legit.
Brownstone downtown.
Yeah, and just get different ones every year or so, every 2 years.
Sounds like
Right?
a plan.
Sounds like a REIT.
Cameron, you said we got paperwork. Get rid of the paperwork,
I can't do that.
especially those 3 forms: the P, PA, NJ, NY, all those
You're gonna
check
get muted in a
boxes.
minute.
Exactly. Thank
You're gonna
you,
get
Sam.
muted in a minute, girl.
Thank you so much, Sam, for
Thank
coming
you,
on and
Sam.
answering our
Guys,
questions.
thank you. I
Sam.
appreciate
That
it.
was so
Have a blessed
informative.
Thanksgiving. Please have a great Thanksgiving, you and the family, and I will see you soon. And
I'll be
over
on.
the weekend, if you need me, I'm around.
Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Enjoy
We
your
appreciate
Don't
it.
bother you
family.
tomorrow,
Sam.
right? Don't bother you tomorrow.
No, you can call me. I don't care. I'll see you later.
Sam, you sound
Bye.
like me. We should care, but we don't care.
No, listen, Thanksgiving is Thursday. If you have a potential deal, I'm around.
All right. So
I'll see
thank
you
you
later.
for attending. Everybody
Take
who
care.
wants to stay on for paperwork can stay on, so I can
What
cover.
kind
some-
of paperwork?
Yolanda, you know how to write up a contract, so you
Oh,
good.
yeah.
Bye.
Y'all enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Greta.
Bye.
Thank you.
Share my screen. The one with my All right, so we're gonna work on buyer paperwork today. I'm gonna show a file that is already created. This way it saves some time and I'm not keeping you for another hour. One of my transactions that I did that I'm working on negotiating right now, we'll go to a actual live one. That is gonna be 115 Neptune. So not sure, do everybody know how to create a transaction so far? Let's start from the beginning. Let's create a contact. The little picture frame, that's how you create your people. You add a contact, and then you just type in their name. Regina Moore. Then you type in an email address. More@gmail.com. And then you type in a phone number. And then you can put how you got that lead. You can tag it. In this case, we're working as buyers. So I'm going to click on buyer. And then I'm going to save that contact. Down here, which all my buttons are in the way. Put everything up. When you hit create contact, invalid phone number. Let's see. 201-111-1212. Let's see if that one works. That invalid? All right, that one took. So we created the contact. Now, how do we do the opportunity? The handshake. This is about how we create the opportunity. You click on a handshake, and in the corner is going to say create opportunity. So you're going to create the opportunity. This is very important, opportunity type. If you're working with the buyer, you want to click the buyer. If you're working with the seller, you want to click the listing. If you're working with the landlord and you get a list of property for rent, it's the landlord. If you're working with the tenant, someone who's looking to rent, you're going to click tenant. In this case, we're working with buyers. If you don't click it right from the beginning, your compliance is going to be wrong. The documents that they're going to ask you for is going to be wrong, and you're going to have to redo the opportunity again. So make sure you select the right opportunity type. The client, remember we said was Regina. So as you start typing, your stuff come up. So you would click in Regina Moore. If Regina had a partner or a spouse or whatever, or someone else buying with her, they would be the co-person. Then if you have a closing date in mind, you can put the closing date. If you don't worry about it. This I want to try to get closed by the end of the year. So I will put the by the end of the year. Time frame, we almost in December, so that's 1 month. Budget, this one was $658. Commission, you got to get your commission from off the MLS. So when you go on the MLS, I'm going to log back in. I want to show you where you get your information from. One password 30. You're gonna go to the address that you're looking for. In this case, is 115 Carlton. And you see as you type in, everything comes up. Carlton Avenue, there's one thing that came up, and it's 790. And when you click on the bottom, or see on the bottom, you'll see your information. So buyer agent, 2.2% minus 275. That's the commission. So when I go back up to command, my commission rate is 2%. What phase are you in? Did you set the appointment or are you active in appointment? The appointment has already been set. So are we searching, are we showing, or are we negotiating? Right now, we're negotiating. It has not been accepted. I've already showed it, so I'm not showing. And then I would hit create. And this creates my opportunity. on this page, there's two things I want to do. I'm going to use the pencil here to change my general information. The opportunity name. In the beginning, you don't know what property you're going to buy. So when you're in the showing phase, the searching phase, you don't know what property. But once you identify which property that you actually going to be purchasing, you want to put the opportunity name for that property. Because when the check come in, the check is going to come in to 115, associated with 115 Carlton. It's not going to be associated with Regina Moore. So you want to put opportunity name. So when they FedEx our checks over or mail it and Patricia get the envelope, it's going to be by a property address. So that opportunity name, she can match up with the check. But if you have it Regina Moore, she don't know what Regina Moore is purchasing. So make sure once you do find out the property address that you're going to be putting your offer in, you put it as opportunity name. Also on here, I will add financing type. You can put the financing type. In this case, it's none because it's cash. Why didn't that come up? Let me move y'all again so I can do my thing. I don't know why none don't want to come up, but I'm going to hit save. And then on the property itself, there's another little pencil. I want to use that little pencil and I want to put the address of the property, which if I start putting the address in, you see it automatically start coming up. So that was Carlton. And you see a few of them come up. I'm working in Jersey City, so I want Jersey City. Oh, so he put Carlton Ave and I put Carlton Street, but there's no Carlton. Let me see if a Carlton Street come up. Okay. So there's a Carlton Ave and a Carlton. Yeah, there's no Carlton Street in Jersey City. Let me go back to that MLS. Okay, so I was wrong. So my opportunity, I need to change my to Avenue, Carlton Avenue. Hit save. So where I put Carlton Street, I want to make sure that I get it right. Otherwise, I send Patricia on a wild hunt. So you see that part came up right. Everything is good. Now I want to create my documents so I can send my contract out to my client. So I'm going to hit documents and I'm going to import my documents from DocuSign. So here you would start a transaction. Once the transaction is started, it would go to the transaction from that point on in. You're going to need your passwords for DocuSign.
Karen, when someone submits an offer, it's always just via the contract. The verbal offers don't matter, right?
Yeah, because verbal offers don't mean anything. I don't have no proof of funds. I don't want to get my client excited and it's a disappointment because now your client changed their mind. Verbal is, written is better for your client, for you, because you don't want to go disappointing your seller by giving them verbals that nobody's really going to come through with.
Yeah, so you don't even present a verbal offer because it could be nonsense, right?
Unless you send me an email with their proof of funds. Like if they cash and you send me an email and you show me that they got their proof of funds and you put a text into me, that's about as closest to verbal I get.
Got it. So
You put it in writing through a text or email and
you
you
expect
send me
to
their
see
proof of
a
funds.
bank statement of some type of proof of fund.
Correct. Or their pre-approval. But sometimes, people put an offer in and it's a ridiculous offer and they wasting your time, but they know they don't want to waste their own time by writing up the contract. So just try to protect your client because remember, if you're the one that got to deliver that message to your seller, and if you deliver messages that's too disappointing, who they gonna look at? They're gonna be like, you don't know what you're doing, and I'm ready to end this contract.
Yep.
Okay. So this is how you you set up your documents, and if you have not sat with John Carlos yet, I advise you to sit with John Carlos so that you can get connected and get to your DocuSign, because you don't want to wait till a weekend like now. They're not at the office until Monday, and you go out Friday or Saturday and you got a flyer and now you can't even get on the system. So Monday, if you have not connected your systems properly with DocuSign, speak to John Carlos so that you can get set up. We want to start with the documents on this page, the details. On the details, I'm gonna put everybody information in once, so that when I go to do all those documents, all my details is gonna flow to each page that I prepare. But if you don't put in your documents, that means if you don't put in your details, each document, you're gonna have to type it in. So take the time to type in and text everything one time. You'll hit the edit button. You're gonna put the seller's information, you're gonna put the buyer's information, you're gonna put the listing agent information, you're gonna put your information all on the right-hand side. Then you're gonna put as much details about the property on your left-hand side. Now, where do I get my seller information from? I go to Paragon, I go to tax records. Let me move you a little bit. Tax records, I go to New Jersey tax records. I know the property street. I know it's in Hudson County. I know it's in Jersey City. I know it begins with C. It's Carlton. So I'm going to put on Carlton Avenue. And I know the number is 115. I'm going to type that in so I don't have to look. And this is where I'm getting the seller's information from. Barbara A. Capozzoli, she lives there. I'm going to need the block and lot from here. I'm going to need the land description, which is the size of the land. In this case, it's 25 by 100. I'm going to need the taxes from here. I don't really care about the square footage unless it was a condo. I'm going to need the owner's name. Now, when you're taking the information and it's two people there, you may want to ask the listing agent, are both parties on the tax record responsible for signing? Why do I want to ask the agent that? Because sometimes you have Barbara and Fred Capozillo, and Fred is deceased. And if you put the contract with Barbara, Fred, and Fred is deceased, now, you know, that just hurt Barbara's feelings because this is the contract with her dead husband on there. So you want to just use tax and ask, are both parties that are on a tax record, if both parties was on here, will be signing for the contract. That just will let you know, the listing agent will let you know, oh, it would just be Barb, Fred is deceased. Or sometimes you may have to ask the listing agent, if they don't have it present, you just ask them, should I be using the name that's on the tax records? Because sometimes Barbara might have been deceased and now it's an estate of Barbara Capazio. So just get in a habit of talking with the listing agent to make sure who you're writing a contract up for is in an estate, are both parties, you know, you don't want to say alive, but will both parties be signing on a contract? This way, when you're doing your information for seller 1 and seller 2, you have the correct information, and you're not going back and forth trying to change everything. Where do I get the listing agent information? Well, on the MLS, you have the listing information. So you just, Joselito, you have all his information, his email, his phone number, office address, and everything. Now, all that information, you will be able to have a complete contract completed without the gaps. Now, what I did notice, most of the companies have the license number for both the company and themselves. I don't know why Christie's don't have their office number there, but generally fill in for both the company and the licensed salesperson on a contract. So once you save all those details, you have your documents. Now the computer is going to pull in most of the documents for us. You just need to make sure that it pulls in everything. So as Yolanda was talking about, you have all the affiliated companies that we are affiliated with. This is the New York, the Pennsylvania, the PA, the New York, New Jersey, the PA, New York, New Jersey, the PA, New York, New Jersey. These are companies that we are associated with, that we have partnerships with, that we have potential to get money from. So it's just a disclosure. They're not agreeing to it unless they want the services, which include the home warranty, the title, the insurance, and the mortgage. They're not agreeing to it, but we have to offer to everybody so that one, we're not discriminating one against the other, and two, it's compliant so that your paperwork, when that check do come in, you can get paid. I do everything up front. This way I'm not trying to go back at the last minute and get people to sign things. So when I prepare the contract, yeah, it may take 35, 40 minutes, but when they sign in, they're happy and in a good spirit, I'm getting everything signed at one time. Now, if you want to add something, I do save the tax record that do come in, and I put that in as a PDF to my file. I do save the MLS sheet because compliance needs that as well. And I put that into my room. Your room is your folder. So think of your room as any correspondence that you get from the attorneys, from working with this client, the MLSs that you're showing. This is your room. This is your garbage pail. Put it all in there. If you have to go to court, all we have to do is go to your room and all your documents are here. If you start keeping double folders, you're going to have to keep your folders for the next 6, 7 years for that client. The computer is a house. We have a cloud. That's what we pay for. Keller Williams' responsibility to make sure that our documents are staying here. So we want to make sure that you put everything in the room. This way, once it's in a room, it's there. Anything, if I have to go to court for you, if you have to go to court for yourself, you go into your room, your documents are there. Your list is on my class. DocuSign forms, we have them all set up in groups. So your buyer transaction is what you want. We're working with the buyer. If you was working with a listing, whatever listing you're working with, you're working with Central, Garden State, Hudson, Monmouth, New Jersey, we have all of them set up in rooms for you so that you don't have to go digging. If it was a listing, you'd do a rental listing packet. If you're doing a listing, if you're doing a renter, then it'd be the rental transaction. If you're doing a listing where it's a landlord, it'd be the rental listing packet. If you are doing a Hudson County, most of us is working in Hudson County, so it would be the regular listing packet. In this case, we're working with the buyer transaction packet. Now you see what's required and you see what's in use. The computer already put things in our folder for us. So the home warranty, now you have two different requirements because the home warranty is not required for you to get paid for your compliance. So even though it may say you're required, if it's not on your compliance required, we're not stressing it. However, you should offer the home warranty to everything, or if they waive it, you can sign a waiver. The commission bill, I don't pull that into the file right away, but you will need your commission bill at one point in time. So you can put it in your room or you can leave it there, but at one point in time, you have to do your own commission bill. So you might as well pick it up when you're doing it and put it in the room. I don't do offer to purchase because that's, to me, is the lazy way. Unless you're doing a commercial property where we don't write up the leases, the attorneys do, and we don't write up contracts for commercial, the attorneys do. That's the only time you should be using an offer to purchase. Otherwise, do a full contract because one, as a listing agent, you give me an offer to purchase, I'm gonna say you're lazy more than likely because you just don't want to do the full contract. And two, if you do an offer to purchase, it's not getting to the attorney too quick because now you still got to turn around, do a contract. You're wasting time. And that is mean someone else could come in those little few minutes that you're taking to do another contract after you get an offer. Now here comes somebody else with the offer. So the quicker you can get the seller to sign an actual contract versus an offer to purchase, the better you're protecting your buyer so that somebody else is not coming through you're moving it closer to getting into attorney review quicker than later. And most of the time, they sign the first contract, they generally honor in their heart to go with the first contract they sign. I mean, it's not a guarantee, but generally most sellers say, no, I'm gonna stick with my first client that I sell. For some reason, they either liked it, whatever reason that they signed it, a lot of times they don't change. So don't get lazy and do it off of the purchase, do the full contract. Consumer information statement is already in use. The Attorney General memorandum is pretty much saying we're not discriminating. And I'm gonna go and pull these in all at once so that we can see which ones and actually go through them. Right now, I'm just telling you how to pull them into your system. We don't need the New Jersey informed consent because that's a New York one. The PA one is in use already. Protect your family from lead. Yes, you need that because any house built before 1978 has lead. Mostly everything in Jersey City has lead except if it's new construction. Buyer waiver inspection or appraisal. She's not waiving none of that. Informed consent to dual agency. If you were visiting a buyer and a seller, you would use this. We're not in this case. Lead plain disclosure. We don't want our buyers to sign empty lead-based paint disclosures. So you want to go to the MLS, and now I know he didn't do it purposely because I had to call him on it, but I'll just show you one of my transactions where you can find your lead-based paint. Let's go to, you see here in the middle, you have a D. D stands for your documents. When you click on your documents, you will have your lead disclosure paint on there. You don't want your client to sign an empty one. You want them to sign that the seller has no knowledge of lead, or the seller has knowledge, or the seller has no reports, or the seller has reports. This is what they're supposed to be signing, not a blank one. So make sure you pull it from the MLS when you're doing your lead disclosure statement. Wire fraud. Now we got 2 wire frauds. I want you to use both of them because one gives more information than the other. Is it more redundant? Is it? Yes, it is. But if I had the resources, if I had a wire fraud on me and I had, if I had $10 lost, but you know, we're talking about big money here, 3,000, 4,000, 50,000. You want every resource possible to track your money down. The New Jersey wire fraud only gives me one resource. The KPG wire, the one that we use in our company, the one that is the PA, that had 3 different sources I can contact if my money is lost. I want to contact everybody. I want to contact the FBI, the police, everybody. I want looking for my money. So use both because it's giving you more of how to get that money back in a quicker time frame. Let's see. Now, if you're doing addendums to your contract, in this case, I know my buyer needs to sell her property in order to purchase one. So if there's addendum, you have to make sure that you pull the addendums in. If it's FHA, you want to make sure you pull in your FHA addendums. New construction, if it's a short sale, if it's 3 or more properties. The seller's concession Sam talked about. If you had the opportunity and your client can put a seller's concession, you want to pull that addendum as well. And then you want to hit add selected to your room. And all those documents is going to come into your room. Now you're ready to work on your documents. So I'm going to go to the actual documents that I have. Now remember, before I said in the beginning, it start a transaction, but once you start the transaction, it's going to go to the transaction. So the same thing that I just did is already complete. So we're going to go over the, I thought it was complete. She signed the contract, so it should be complete. Is that the one I just created? All right, maybe that's just the one I just created. That's the one I just created. Let me go to the real one. Will the real one stand up? Okay, that was the Regina Moore one. I don't want the Regina Moore one. Now remember, I'm gonna have 2 documents. How do I get rid of the other one? When I click on the one that I don't want, you can hit lost opportunity and hit save, and now that goes bye-bye. We'll go back to the one that I really want, the true one. And that would be the Neptune Holdings LLC. So we go back to documents. Remember we said go to transaction. And now you see all these are my done ones. You see that I put Carlton, not Carlton, Joselito, I put his information sheet in there. You see that I put the MLS sheet in there. You see that I put my tax record in there. Also, that I don't have to go back and refer back and forth. Now, also because she has a property that she's selling, so I had to put the contingency. I want to be able to show them, see her property is under contract, so that they can see we're not playing games. I don't want to show her our real contract. I'm prepared to if I have to, but I just want to show her the MLS and the proof of funds because I'm using the buyer's proof of funds for her. I showed his proof of funds so they can see that my buyer for this property is under contract and we'll be able to do a 1031 exchange to your property. We have the funds from that closing. We have it under contract. It's scheduled to close at 15, and we're doing it based on this sale. That's why we have the addendum regarding her needing to close on her unit, which is let's see which addendum was that. Exclusive Y4, and buyer's purchase. So this is the New Jersey addendum regarding buyer's property sale contingency. So this contract is contingent on 214 Neptune Avenue closing on December 15th. So just in case any of y'all never did a contingency from someone else, and if you still on, you might have this where you have to show your client is under contract in Newark to purchase for that property there and where she's moving to. Now we're going to get into each document. You'll see that one has a green check, one doesn't. The green check means that you sent the folder out, it came back and it's signed. So we're going to go over the ones that are signed so you can see exactly where it's signed. So make sure on this one is the consumer information statement that states how you work. You represent the client, whether you represent them as a buyer agent or disclosed doer agent or seller's agent. In this case, it's not a Keller Williams, Keller Williams, Jersey City, they own or downtown, our offices. That's the only reason we would be a disclosed doer agent. If it's a Keller Williams from Maplewood, from Timbuktu, we don't care. You're not a disclosed doer agent. You only represent that buyer as a buyer agent. In this case, Joselito is from Christie's, so I'm buyer agent. And any information he releases to me, I am free and willing to tell my seller, to tell my buyer, even if I using it against his seller. As a disclosed doer agent, if I tell you something, Greta, as a disclosed doer agent, you can't disclose that to the buyer. So if it's a material defect to the property, yes, you can disclose that. If I tell you, Greta, the seller will take, we listed at $790, but they'll take $750, you can't run to the buyer and say, hold off, don't go up to $775 because she'll take $750. If I told you that as a disclosed doer agent, you can't use that information to take advantage of the buyer. Everybody understand that? You just there to mediate, not to give one person any unfair advantage over the other person. You want to make sure that you put your name, which says relationship I, that's you, the agent. If you don't have that there, compliance will kick it out. You don't have one of these little boxes checked, compliance will kick it out. And you want to make sure that your buyer signs it. Our next document that we have is the New Jersey Affiliated Services. So the affiliated service again tells them about our mortgage partners, our title partners, the attorney that is affiliated with us, our Safeguard Home Insurance and Auto company, the American Home Shield company that we have for home warranty. We have 2 home warranty companies. So that's all this is. It's just a disclosure to let them know that we have these companies, that we have affiliations with these companies, that we may get paid from these companies, that the service is available for them if they should choose it. It's just a disclosure. Now, the next one is the affiliated. This one is where they acknowledge if they want any of those services. So it's the same one, the first 2 pages that we just went over, but now it's asking them on the 3rd page, do they want the services? So we need to check, and it's easier because if you put the boxes, the clients never check the boxes because I know I put no, 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 no. So we check the boxes because we had the conversation with our clients and we know they don't want the insurance. We know they don't want the title. We know they don't want any legal services. We know they don't want any insurance. We check the boxes, no, no, no for them so that when they're doing DocuSign, they forget to cut the boxes. It'll look, that it's all completed. But it's the same thing. One is to generally use when you're doing your buyer's consultation because you're getting them anticipated of what we have. And then when you go around and do it the second time, they already familiar because you told them and they buy a consultation. So now they have the option of saying, okay, I want this, that, or the other. I generally just do everything at one time, both documents. And now this one is the wire.
Oh, one says PA on it. I thought
They
that
all
was
say
like,
PA.
I thought it was the same form, but it's just like one was for a different state, but I wasn't really sure what the
Oh,
difference.
this one is PA, this one PA. See, it says PA, New Jersey, and New York. PA, New Jersey, and New York. And
Yeah.
this one is not for PA, it's only for New Jersey and New York.
So it's the same as the one in the middle. It's just a different state, right?
Yeah, it's the same. Both of these are the same.
Okay.
The 3rd one is the one that has the wire information. 2 things on here. Let me see. No, it's not on this one. It's a different statement on the other one. This one has the 4, not even 3. It has On Guard Online, National White Collar Crime, Internet Crime Complaint Center, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I believe our New Jersey one just had the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Therefore, if I have 4 opportunities to try to track my money down, I want all 4 opportunities. So that's why I say use the New Jersey as well as this one because it's giving you extensive knowledge on how to track that money down. Then our lead-based paint, again, we spoke about the lead-based paint. We said, do not have your client sign anything that's not blank. You know where to get it from. You get it off the MLS. If it's not on the MLS, tell them to call a listing agent and tell them to send it over.
Hey, Karen, can I ask, I never actually understood this form where it says like your buyer's supposed to go down where it says the buyer part. It says waive the opportunity to conduct a risk assessment or inspection for lead-based paint. Usually that's supposed to be checked right there. And the buyer.
Generally, I do never waive anything for nobody because if they can't get lead paint and it's waived, and you told them to waive it, they coming after your license because they said, Li told me to waive it. So always we give them the opportunity to do it. Whether they do it or not, give them the opportunity to do their lead-based paint inspections.
Okay.
Never let them waive it.
And then during that 10-day opportunity, is that like during the actual inspection? Is that the inspector checking for that?
No, lead inspector is a total different inspector.
Oh,
Cost. Lead can cost you about $1,000 to do a lead inspection. Most people do not do lead inspection, especially if you buy an older house. It's assumed that if it's before 1978, it has lead somewhere coming in that house, whether it's from the pipes or the old window sills or something. There's some lead somewhere.
okay.
So nobody, there will be lead somewhere if you did a lead.
I should advise my buyer, I need to click on the first one, received a 10-day opportunity, have my buyer initial it and sign it, and then just tell my buyer during your inspection time, if you want to pay for a lead inspection, you can, but you do it during that inspection period.
Got 10 days to do all the inspections.
Okay.
So number 8 is purchaser have received copies of the information stated in number 3. So number 3 is up here. Number 3 is whether the seller has knowledge, has no reports, has reports, or have any records, or has no records. Number B, purchaser has received a pamphlet. That's the pamphlet. It's like a 40-page pamphlet about lead and protecting your family. Number C, they had the opportunity to do the lead picks or they waive. Generally, never let them waive anything. If they don't do it, they don't do it, but don't click off the waive. You especially don't click off waive. Any other questions on the lead? All right. So now let's go to we already did the addendum for the buyer's property, so I'm not going to go over that one again. Now this is the coronavirus. Another addendum on the thing. We hadn't had the experience coronavirus since before 2020. So since this is part of our world, now we have to protect our buyers. So generally, if this is left bank, it's going to be 30 days. This gives your buyer 30 days to push back their closing if for some unforeseen reason, the buyer or the seller have COVID and they need to extend the contract or cancel the contract. Then if this box is checked, if buyer is unable to close on a loan, proceed to closing because of buyer's loss of income from COVID, related issues, notwithstanding buyer may have removed buyer loan contingency, then either the buyer or seller may cancel the contract and buyer deposit shall be returned to the buyer. This protects the buyer. Our job if we're working as a buyer agent is to protect the buyer. Do we want the deal to close? Of course. Do we want it to fall through? No. But if they do come across circumstances with COVID, or should we help them provide it out? This provides it out. Now, whether the attorney take this addendum in attorney review and dismiss it and put reject it, that's up to the attorney. Our job is to present it to the buyer and have them sign it. Many sellers reject it through their attorneys.
But you haven't seen like a listing agent reject a buyer during a multiple bidding situation because they have it signed, have you?
I haven't seen that.
If Karen was a listing agent, she'd want to see a positive COVID test.
But you can't. That'd be in violation of their HIPAA laws. So I can't question.
know, I'm just kidding.
I can't. You know, they say they can't do it because of COVID. They're really protected with their HIPAA laws. We can't ask for proof. This is hold harmless that if they get COVID as a result of showing that they're not suing you, me, or Keller Williams or the seller. And we didn't have to deal with these 2 years ago before this pandemic. We're going to come back to the contract. Exclusive buyer agency agreement. Remember, this agreement can be canceled at any time by the buyer, tenant, landlord, or whoever, just saying, I no longer wish to work with Karen Sands of Keller Williams Realty. And boom.
And that has to be in writing, right?
Text, email is writing. Yep.
Oh, okay.
So on here you have company, Keller Williams, county you're working with. Does they have another relationship with someone else? They better not. The relationship myself with Keller Williams, I'm a buyer agent. Again, if I was a disposal dual agent, that means I'm working with someone, one of you or myself under the same umbrella. In terms of the agreement, Usually the day you start in goes to the day, and I just keep the dates matching. So if I started the 22nd, then the 22nd of 2022. Look at me, I must have was really tired. I got 2222. But that should have been 2022. 02 of 2022. It will expire. So that means I would need to renew it again, February 23 of 2022. The broker's fee is 2.5%. So in this case, and I wouldn't ask my buyer to do this because I have multiple deals with her and I'm about to close her property, but my average commission is generally 2.5. Mr. Jose is only paying out 2%. So really I'm 0.5% short. With this buyer agency agreement, I can say, listen, my commission is 2.5%. I'm only getting paid 2%. I need you to cover the other 0.5%. This is how you can use your buyer exclusive agency. Will I enforce this? Never. I've dealt with this same client for the last 7 years. I'm selling her house. I got the buyer for her house and she's coming through me to buy her another house, and I will rent those units that she has. Do I want to mess up a relationship over 0.5%? Absolutely not. 90-day agreement always can be extended, and you have them sign it. Now, if you have a buyer agency agreement, you ain't doing nothing for your buyer. Pretty sure, do not think you're going to use this to try to get something if they go with another agent. You need to make sure you don't have breaking communication with your buyers. And then remember, we have the New Jersey wire fraud. The New Jersey wire fraud, you see, only give you one resource, and that is an Internet Crime Center ad. And this is, so you got actually 5, because it's not, I don't think on the other one it said Internet Crime Center. So you got 5 different resources if your money should get tied up in a fraud. But as agents, we do not ever collect money through wires. Therefore, if they get an email that's saying Karen Sims told them to wire something, Karen already educated them that it is not Karen Sims, because Karen Sims will never tell you to wire anything. So therefore, you will automatically know that's fraud if you see my name on anything. Everybody understand that? Now let's have the real fun. The real fun is in the contract. Let's put the contract together. The contract is 13 pages. But remember, when you put in your details, a lot of that stuff is going to come over. So you're not sitting there literally filling in 13 pages or doing 13 things. Number 1 is your opinion 26. You represent the buyer, not the seller, because we're doing buyers today, right? Make sure you prepared it. So you want to make sure you put your name in there as the one that has prepared it. Neptune is already coming over. Barbara is already coming over. 115 Carlton is already coming over. The block and lot does not come over. So I need to go to my tax record, which I pulled up, and put my block and lot in it. If I'm doing a condo, I would have a qualifier number.
What is a qualifier?
Only condos have qualifiers, and that just started like this year.
Oh,
Purchase price is $658,000. We're not doing any initial deposit. We're willing to give them $20,000 after attorney review. We're not taking a mortgage. We will bring a balance of $638,000 to the closing table. Initial deposit, not A, because remember we said initial deposit was line 45, we put 0. So that's going to be in A. Number B was the additional deposit. The additional deposit was 46. We said we'll bring 20,000. That 20,000 will be due 10 days after AR. AR is attorney review. Who do we want that money to go to? Well, we want to make it look appealing. So we're going to send it to the seller's attorney. We can always do it to our attorney. Keller Williams, however, we're not an escrow company, so do not ever have them make a check payable with Keller Williams. We do not take escrow. So you either have to find the seller's attorney information, the buyer's attorney information, or worst case scenario, maybe the listing office have an escrow account, but we as Keller Williams don't. So if it's my listing, don't do our office.
This scenario, you have a cash buyer, right, Karen? This scenario is a cash buyer, no mortgage, right?
mortgage scenario is a cash buyer, yes. I don't think we ever work with a cash in some house scenarios. I think mostly been mortgages. So on line number 75, you do other, which is cash. Since there won't be any mortgage commitment, number 979 would be NA, not applicable. The closing is gonna be, I put 12/30, but 30 days after attorney review. So we get this negotiated and it's now December 2nd. That means we rolling into January 2nd. So it's either 12/30 or 30 days after attorney review. So the quicker they move, the quicker we can move. What's included on the MLS was absolutely nothing. So let me see, go back to the quick search. Generally, it'll say somewhere in here, features, it would say what's included. Now, here you go. Inclusions, exclusions. He has absolutely nothing included, not even a stove. But for appraisal stake, well, we don't have an appraisal here, but most banks state you need at least the stove. So I put stoves. We want the gas connector always.
I usually put all attached appliances. Am I writing that incorrectly?
Generally you can put all attached appliances, but the refrigerator is attached with the cord, and if they don't want to leave their refrigerator, they're not obligated to.
Okay, well, so what is attached? to
Supposed to write out everything that they said is included. So they say, let me go to one example. Let's see what may I have. What's included? That's not a good example, Karen. Okay, inclusion stove. 608 brown hall. I didn't put no inclusions in that one.
It says oven range gas.
Yeah, okay, that was it. This one is not mine. Mine, but it's not mine. Let's see. Okay, appliances included. You see it says dishwasher, microwave, refrigerator, washer, dryer, oven / range gas. So that's what you want to actually put. You want to put, you don't want to say as per MLS. The attorneys don't have the MLS, and most of the time you're not sending the MLS. Most agents don't send the MLS with it. So you want to write out what actually is included. Type it out: dishwasher, microwave, refrigerator, washer / dryer, oven / range gas, and that's what will go in there.
And then if the listing agent left that whole thing blank, what do I write?
Ask them.
Yeah, okay. Sometimes I remember to, if I'm representing a buyer and I submit an offer to start the attorney review after we've been accepted to introduce the lawyers, I always attach the MLS sheet, because I'm glad I do, because one time in the middle while we were under contract, the seller tried to say that they can't install in-unit washer and dryer. But luckily I had the MLS sheet that said that you have the option of installing a washer or dryer. And that was the whole point of why my buyer put an offer on that place.
Exactly. So the MLS will kill them or or save your buyer.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you can get in the habit of sending the MLS, it would be best to send the MLS sheet with it. A lot of people don't have that habit, but I like sending my profile thing, because I could pull up my profile like I pulled up Posolitos, so that they can see the buy agent, the listing agent. Especially I do it a lot in the Garden State. I don't do it as much in the Hudson, but I show the two agents, the MLS and the tax records to the attorneys. I don't know why I do it in Garden State more than I do it in the Hudson. It should be practiced same all around.
You say you do the tax record too? You put in there? Why?
Yep, this way they have everything. I mean, they have access to it, but I put it as part of my whole documents when I'm sending it to the listing agent. But generally, I am the listing agent because generally I'm doing my own listings.
Yeah, because the tax record, what's important about that? The block and lot and stuff?
It's just part of the file. Whether the attorney use it, I don't know if they use it on their end, but it's there.
Mm-hmm.
So line number 144 talks about the certificate of occupancy. Generally is different towns vary. Jersey City, we just need the small certificate. Other towns, you may need more than that. It's generally on the seller to do it, but then you're seeing a lot of MLSs, especially outside of Hudson. Buyer responsible for all city, state, and municipal certificates and seals. A lot of times that happens with short sales too. So if you do, and short sale season is probably going to be coming soon. If you do start working with that, make sure you put buyers responsible, because in a short sale, the seller has checked out. And if you don't want to be picking up that expense to try to get the things to the closing table, make sure you put that the buyer is going to be responsible if you're on a list as the listing agent. Municipal assessment. Generally, they will let you know if there's a municipal assessment. So how would they let you know? Again, it would be on MLS. I just looked up today, Sutton and Society Hill, and there is an $85 assessment monthly to 2023, and it says the buyer will pick up that expense at closing, day of closing. So from their closing onward, it's going to be the buyer. Up to the closing, the seller will have it. So most of the time, if there's an assessment, it will be on the MLS. So pay attention and read the broker remarks. Now, line number 181, it's a two-family. I've had in the past where one of my agents was able to get out of contract because on her contract, she said they were buying a two-family. And it came back on the tax records, not on the tax rate, it came back on the survey that it was only a one-family. So because her contract had two-family on it, well, we're not in contract for one family, thus she was able to get that contract null and void and get her client their money back. So always put what family it is, two-family, three-family, a single family. Tenancy, not applicable. And this, I'm glad I was on the phone with Sam today so that we know if we're dealing with a multi-unit. This is where 24205, do not put the rent there. Do not put the information there, because if we trying to get market rent and it's 1,300 and market rent is 1,700, but we got it written here, now it's part of the contract, now we're screwed. So this is where Sam was saying, please don't put it on the contract. Lead-based paint applicable, and remember where we got that from. If it's built before 1978, it wouldn't be applicable. In the contract, we're pretty much going through filling in the blanks. The attorney is going to disapprove this whole contract and revise it in their attorney addendum. 240 and 242, if we leave it blank, it's 3 days. This pretty much saying you got to, I'm presenting this offer, you got 2 days to get back to me. Now, some people may put 24 hours here or 1 day. Yeah, sometimes that might offend the seller, like who they think they are. You give me 24 hours, screw you. So be careful, you know, trying to force or say this is only good for 24 hours, especially if you're in a situation where there's multiple offers. Yeah, that might not work well. Point of entry, we don't have poet systems, we don't have cesspools, so that's going to be not applicable. If you're working in another area outside of Jersey City, Bayonne, Secaucus, you may want to check with a municipality for those things. Inspection contingency. Your buyer can have all the inspections they want. If it's blank, it's 14 days. Now, if you're in a bidding war, this is one way that you can also try to win that bidding war is by cutting the time down. So instead of doing 14 days, you might do 7 days. Excuse me. Because they being hard on the price, I'm making them wait it out by doing 14 days. But part of my last negotiations, when I go back and counter, I said we'll move the inspections to 7 days versus 14 days. Just trying to have a little bit of bargain power. But again, 14 days on everything. Generally, it used to be 10 days. Things got so speedy that everything had to get slowed up. That's why we extended out to 14 days. But before, we used to do it between 7 and 10 days. Nowadays with COVID, it's hard to get inspected. So when you're working with the buyer, you want to give those resources to your buyer upfront so they can start doing the investigations, seeing who they like, seeing what the prices are. So when you do go on the contract, you're not trying to do all that. It's done up front. Sorry. Where we at? Where we at? Oh,
Flood zone.
flood zone. Yeah, there's no blanks for that. Our job is to go in and fill up the blanks. If you have not read a contract, you should read a contract. Even though we're just filling in the blanks, you should know what this contract states. Declaration of the business relationship. This is Keller Williams. You're the licensee, so your name. In this case, I'm just a buyer agent. Information came from the MLS, Christie's, and their seller agent. Commission, very important. You don't know what the listing agent is getting. You don't care what the listing agent is getting. It's none of your business what the listing agent is getting. If the listing agent is only getting 0.5%, be glad that you're getting whatever they're paying out. You find yours on the MLS, like I showed you before. In this case, it's 2% minus the 275. You want to make sure, especially once you're working as a listing agent, that you publish the correct money on the MLS. Had a situation where it's only 2.5. It was published 2.5, but on your paperwork it's 2.25. Had to go all the way to our president of our Liberty Board of Realtors to get the right answer. Whatever is published on that MLS, and if it's not caught before a contract is written, that contract is written, signed, and accepted, even though you have a listing agreement with a different amount, you are going to get hit with that amount that you publish on the MLS, because your exclusive right to sell agreement is between you and the seller. Nothing to do with what you publish on the MLS that you're giving out. So if you make a mistake, you're going to eat that mistake. So please, please, please double check when you're doing your MLS that you're putting out the right amounts. You want to make sure, again, remember, Chrissy didn't have their license number. So in this instance, I did not go on a database to find it, but normally I will put it from the MLS. You should know Keller Williams, the company you work for, license number is the same for all of us. If you don't know, it's 1650524. You should know your own personal license number. You should be carrying it in your wallet. And if you don't, ask John Carlos to send you a copy of your license. It should be in your wallet like your driver license. If you get stopped by the commission and you're doing real estate and you don't have your license, yeah, that's your fine. Number 599 is the seller or buyer a real estate agent, licensed agent? In this case, no. If they were, you would put their name and how they operating. Now, remember, we had the addendums, we had the buyer property, had the seller property, so we got the buyer property sale contingency, we had the coronavirus, we had the lead-based paint. You click these, and especially when you're working with the bank, if you click them, you got to provide them to the bank. In this case, it's cash. I click them, I make sure they're there, but is the bank going to come after me? No, because she's not working with the bank. Any additional contract provisions will go under number 43, which is on line 676. Here, I put buyer will do a 1031 exchange, provide the contract, her buyer proof of funds closing confirmed for 12/15. Both units vacant, 30-day closing on end of December. And that is in my whole contract. Any information on the contract? Any questions? Go ahead, Ella.
I spaced out can you go to the check boxes again? Right there. So let's say if my buyer is doing FHA loan, did you say I need to check that or no?
FHA, you would need to check FHA. Most of the times, I know we're in a different time, but it would be a seller's concession if you're doing FHA. Again, it's all depending on the appraisal. Sometimes you put it in there, hoping and praying that it appraise with both the seller's concession included. But if you do add a seller's concession on, make sure that they still have 3.5%. If the appraisal doesn't come in, that they still can close with their own money.
Okay, so if
I'll push it and see if it can go, because it's up to the appraiser at the end to make it work. If the comps come out, you can try to do your own comps to see if your own comps will come out as well. But if you put it in there, just make sure that they can afford their own concession if they don't get it. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so if I check FHA loan right here, what do I need to supply? It says I need to attach addenda.
So when we go back to our room and we go to our documents, and I'm gonna go to add my documents, and I'm gonna go back to my buyer transaction pack. And then at the end, we have all the addendums that match up with those check boxes. So if it's an addendum for FHA, you wanna click the FHA. If you're doing 3 or more units, you wanna do that. If you add in a seller's concession, you wanna do that. In my case, I only had the coronavirus, the lead, and the buyer property for sale. So those addendums at the bottom matches up with the contract, whichever one you want. I didn't even realize until recently that there's a swimming pool addendum, that there's a solar panel addendum. So yeah, read, it's called reading. Even I have to read. So once we get our contract together, we want to create an envelope. So how do we create an envelope so that we can send the documents out? Well, you want to click on the documents you want. When you click on the documents you want, this bar is going to come up. This little pencil is how we create an envelope. So I'm just going to select a few things. I'm just going to collect things that I don't have to worry about her signing, just to show you how to create. Something else that I would need to sign. I'm gonna do it, and then I don't have to send it out. So I want to show you how easy it is when you do it a certain way. So I picked up 3 items here. Let me take off the commission. I want to use the create an envelope. Going to do its little thing. I'm going to pre-tag the rows. Now, if I put the seller, and I'm not going to put the seller because I want to actually see it go through. I'm going to put me as the buyer agent, and I'm going to select myself. Yeah. Got to hit tag. Buyer agent, myself. I have to hit add, select it. And it's going to add me. See how I pulled up me, my name. I'm going to change it to what I'm working with. In this case, it's Carlton. I'm going to send a nice message. Hey, Rach, please review. Review your contract and sign. And then I'm hit next. Now, when I pre-tag it, it's going to do something cool for me. Instead of me having to drop and drag the signature and initials, the computer is going to automatically do it for me. It's going to line up where I'm supposed to sign. Yeah, that wasn't cool. Because if I put her in, it would show you where the buyer was signed. But if you use the pre-tag, it's going to make it easy for you because it's going to tag who's supposed to sign what. In order for me to get her signature for you to see it, I would have had to put her into. But that's an easier way when you create in your envelope. Otherwise, you're going to have to click the signature, drag and pop it to where you want on each page if you don't use pre-tag. So you have to go to each page and pick up the initial and put it down. Pick up the initial, put it down on each page. Now, does it always work perfectly? No. Should you always go through and check each page that you put in the envelope? Absolutely. so that you make sure that each page have the initial, each page have a signature where it's supposed to go. Once you do that and you get your documents back into your room, then you go back to your original place, which is the front, after everything's been signed, and you're ready to get your compliance reviewed. You go to under contract, and you start matching up everything that was signed. Once this offer get accepted, you match up everything that needs to be assigned. So let me just show you one that has been approved so you can see what that would look like. Let's go to buyers under contract. This one has already been approved. Documents. You see where it says approved under contract? That means everything was set up and lined up with what was supposed to be lined up with. Compliance, if it's conditional, it's conditional. Should you put it there? Yes. Do you have to put it there? No. Required? Yes, you have to put it there. Optional? No. Required? Absolutely. And that's your under contract. Then you close. We want to see the commission bill. We want to see the listing report, and preferably the closed listing report. We want to see the HUD. You're not going to get the HUD until you have the closing. And at the closing table, the attorney will give you the HUD or the title company. And then remember, you create your own commission bill. This is what the commission bill would look like. You put an amount, the percentage, if there's a listing fee, and the total amount that would be due. You sign it. Don't send it to me to sign. You sign your own commission bill. Verify by using your calculator that you're getting paid the right amount. And then you will hit submit to MC. MC is our Market Center Compliance Department. They will do the compliance. Her name is Colleen. If you have an issue when you're doing your compliance, you will write a note to Colleen. So let's go back to one we're working with. 115 Carlson, and say I'm doing my documents and I have an issue and I want to add a comment, so I let Colleen know. So if I go down the bottom and I use the @ sign, what happened? Go down to the bottom, use the @ sign, you'll see everybody starting to come up. Now myself not going to come up because it's my folder, but you'll see Colleen. Colleen is our commission compliance person. So if there's an issue, you want to say at Colleen, the buyer refused to sign the PA, New York, New Jersey addendums. Now, Colleen's job is gonna be to say, Karen, can you approve this file? Because the clients refuse. So if they refuse, I can't make them sign it, but we're putting in compliance. So if we ever get audited that the client refused, we can't make the client do something they don't want to do. And this way, your check won't be held up. Say if you're working with a tenant, it might be at Colleen, the tenant, and this happens a lot, refuse to sign the W-9. They don't want to give up their social security number to us. Little know that we probably have it somewhere on their tax returns that we got if we use their tax return to verify their income. But they refuse to sign the W-9. A message like that, she can override and go ahead on and get you paid with your compliance. If you have a message to me or to Patricia, the same thing at Patricia or at Karen. Again, I can't do my own stuff. Y'all can do me. So if there's an issue, just tell us up front instead of waiting and trying to think that compliance is going to just approve something that they don't know about. You know why the buyer didn't do it or why the tenant didn't do it. We don't, compliance don't, but if you communicate that through the system, then it's easy for us to help you get your compliance through. Now, after all that, when you come out of attorney review, let me see, did I come out of attorney review or anything lately? All right, let me see if this one come up. Excuse me, sorry. Ella, you think you can do this one?
Yeah, what about it?
Just break down the numbers for them.
You want me to write down the numbers?
Break down the numbers for the team. Like how you do the commission request.
Oh, okay, you go to well, you go to the top, you go to commissions.
You did.
On that. Okay, yeah, add an offer.
I already did one. We're going to just use what I have on file, right? The numbers are right there.
So,
Which is,
so what do you ask me to do, to like pretend that it's not done and how to get paid?
to understand that one.
Do,
Let me just do a new one. This way, I don't want to. This one is already completed.
yeah.
And again, Patricia have this all on file for us, like its own one. So if anybody needs to do one, there is a YouTube video that you can refer to. Let me see, I think all those are done. We can play with this one. I think we can play with this one. Oh no, we can't play with this one either. This one is already in there. All right, so I'll do it. I think I can do it. So when we create the commission, we add a new offer. We're going to put in the offer. We're going to put what the cash is that the person is putting down. We're going to put what amount they're financing. Actually, I think I need to edit this. Can I edit? Yeah. No, I'm going to have to get Patricia to redo this one for me. I'm sorry, y'all. So you're going to put in the information, the finance amount, the amount of deposit that they put in, if there's any option fee, which is like the sales concession fee, the closing date, termination notice. We ain't trying to terminate anything. And then you want to hit submit. When you hit submit to the MCA, it creates this next part, which is you can view your commission. Once you view your commission, you can edit it. And you want to, when you're working with the buyer, and remember he said 2% minus 275. Well, we're doing 2% and say we're at 658. So 658 times 2% is how much? Let's use a calculator because she doesn't use to mind that like that no more. Let's see. 658 times 0.2% is 13,160. Now that 13,160, he is charging, I believe it was 275, right? Middle. 275. So we gotta take 275 out of there now. So when we take 275 out, that's gonna drop us back down to $12,885. So when we editing it, we want to put the sale price in this case, it would be 658. The commission, we'll put the total commission as 12,885. and it'll calculate the commission rate for us. So don't put 2% in. The computer will calculate for you when you put the total commission in, because it's a little different when you're working with the buyer. You got to take that MLS fee out before you put the commission in. And then you put the contract date and closing date and how many units it is. In this case, it's just 1 unit. The second part is to edit your payment part, which again, it'd be 1 unit. Now, this agent gross commission has to match this commission. So if that commission is 12,885 in this scenario, this agent gross commission also has to be 12,885. The computer will automatically do the calculations for you based on if you cap, if you're not capped, how much of it are you getting, and then if you're putting in a KW Cares, the computer will do all that part. It's not going to let you submit over here to the MCA until both this part and this part is equal. So if it's in harmony, where you see how it says agent pay, Karen pay, those two was equal, it let me put the correct amounts in. So if your correct amounts are not correct, it's going to give you a warning error that you did something wrong. And you're going to have to go back to this side to fix it so that you get the right number on your right-hand side. So because I don't have a real live example, just go to YouTube, look for Patricia, look for the commission, how to create a commission. And I think John Carlos even have a new one on there. It's a real easy step. Once you get used to it, you'll know how to calculate your money, because that's the most important part after doing a good job, is calculate and make sure you're getting your right money. But the computer will do most of this other figuring out for you. You just have to make sure that you put the agent gross commission in correctly when you're putting it in on the tenant side. And that pretty much will complete your thing. You have your documents, you've done your commission request. Now you're just pretty much waiting for your closing to come in, so that once that check come in, you just finishing up a few things under the closing part and getting paid. If everything is done up front, literally we will pay you within 24 hours if all your paperwork is done. So don't think that you have to wait until you close to get your paperwork up. The only thing when you close that you should have to put up is that closed MLS sheet, the check, and the HUD. Everything else you can do ahead of time. This way, when it comes down to it and that check come in, we're sending you copies through the email so that you can upload it. You're not coming in, the check comes to the office through the mail. We send you copies, you upload it in your thing, and within 24 hours, you're paid. So any questions?
I'm looking at this home warranty protection plan waiver and notice, and I'm under contract with my buyer right now, but I didn't have her do this because it wasn't in my my opportunity as a required document or anything that I need, even as like an optional document, I don't think. So I assume I don't need to have her sign that, right?
Well, you can always have her sign, because she always should have the opportunity, but for your compliance sake, it's not going to be one of your compliance documents that is on the list. Let me go back. Let me share first. I'm like, I'll be looking, y'all not looking. It's not when you go back to your compliance in command and you click on, let's go back to buyer, keep it within the buyers. Documents on the contract. It's not one of your required documents here.
I don't see it there as optional either. I just don't see it there.
Not one of your optional or required. It's just in our rooms, we say it's required, but to get paid on it, we're not. You don't want me to put another required document in there to make sure you won't get paid on time, do you?
No, I'm just wondering, like, do I need to have her sign? Because I'm already under contract, you know, and we are doing like finalizing the inspection right now. So do I need to have her sign it now?
I will have her sign it if she wants it. if she want a home warranty,
Mhm.
remember the home warranty, and I believe if you use the home HPH warranty, if there's an issue with your E&O, that one also will cover you on your E&O. So there's a percentage that you as an agent have to pay. By us showing a home warranty, and if our clients accept it, and if there's anything that kick back on us, that home warranty will protect you and your E&O insurance. I'm not sure if you know that. So
Repairs and omissions?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's if a buyer closes a transaction and then decides to sue me for something?
correct.
Okay,
So
so,
if they accept the home warranty, so they have to accept it and use it for you to be protected. But at any which rate, you should give everybody an opportunity, whether they accept or reject, that's on them.
okay, and then it says that form, I just read it, it says that the buyer has been supplied a brochure on what a home warranty is and how much it is. Where is that brochure?
Documents. So let's go to the transaction again. Everything is in there. It's too interactive. It says interactive. DocuSign. Buyer transaction. And let's see, it should say interactive. American Home Shield New Jersey interactive application is already in use. And
Warranty, there it is. You go up a little bit. That one. APHW home warranty, is that it?
this is interactive.
No, below that, right below there. What's that? Is that it?
Well, one's the application. They both in use. I'll show you both.
Okay.
And then there should be one more. They both should pop up in your system. Let me see, where's the other one? One is American Home Shield, and what is the other one, you remember?
I don't.
So there's the American Preferred Home Warranty,
Okay, that's one of our preferred
other
vendors.
one. Yeah, here, they both there. So this is American Home Shield, and this is the American Preferred Home Warranty. So they both interactive.
What does it mean by interactive?
And you can click on it. It's a book that come up. It's 12 pages, and they can click what they want and see it and apply for it.
I see. Okay.
They there. So when you send your documents, you can send it, and then they can choose if they want it or not.
Okay. And Karen, I've actually never really suggested a home warranty to any of my buyers. Without reading 12 pages, like what is it? Is it just basically if they buy it, they pay something and it covers them for a year, for the first year, for any kind of repairs or malfunctions with the property? Or does it cover like if they discover mold when they're renovating right after they buy it, all that?
You should read, let me go back and check again. You should read it because I'm not an expert on it. So I don't want to say exactly what it may or may not cover.
Yeah.
But on the last page, it should have the amount. Let's look and see on the last page. It should have the amount that it costs. Which is up top to your right. If it's a single family, and then it have the amounts based on what they want. If it's a 2 family, it's a duplex, 3 is a triplex, 4 is a fourplex. And then they can add additional services, and based on what additional services they want would be what they actually will get as far as the warranty is concerned.
Okay, so this is like for
Cover like basics,
yeah.
but if they want to add extras on it, then they can add extras on it.
So this is like for the first 1 or 2 years after they buy it?
One.
One.
All home warranties are 1 year.
Go down, because I thought it said 2 years.
What is,
No?
but if you pay for a 2 year, but most of them are just 1 year.
Right, okay. Oh. Says duplex is oh, okay, 2 warranty agreements. It's a duplex. I thought it meant 2 years.
Every 2 years is $100 deductible, is $7.99. So if they do a single family 1 year, it's $425. But if they want to get it for 2 years, if they want to do a new construction plan for buyers, for 3 years, theirs is only $550 because it's new construction.
Yeah,
So
so
most of them are 1 year plans.
got it. And I guess what I'm trying to figure out is like, what's the difference with like, how do my buyers need a home warranty? Because if something is like really messed up, that's what they have home insurance for, right?
Necessarily, they need to read their home insurance policy. Their home insurance policy may not replace a microwave, a dishwasher, a washer and dryer.
Right, so this is more for appliances.
Appliances, electrical, let's see, there was one up here that had a simply what is covered. So this says what is covered. No, that's terms and conditions. What is covered? Attic and exhaust fans, central air conditioner, kitchen appliances, plumbing systems, electrical, heating systems, roof, septic, humidifier, trash compactor, water heater, water well pump. So optional covers where they have optional stuff. Clothes, washer and dryer, gas fireplace, indoor pools, jetted bathtub, sprinkler systems, termite control, water softener, additional refrigerations, including freestanding freezers, wine coolers. So
Okay.
give
So-
it to them, give them both. You know, you got two different ones in here,
Yeah,
send them both, and it's up to them to decide what they want. Your job is just to educate them on what is available, not
Yeah.
to convince them what they want.
okay. And then since I'm already under contract with them, at what point am I supposed to be what's the latest where I can present this to them and have them sign that paper?
I think there's another YouTube video that you may want to go back to with that one is, I believe, with American Preferred Home Warranty. On his, I believe he says that you can do it the day of closing.
Okay,
Closing, and it might be a few days after, but go back and look at that YouTube video and that'll give you more explanation.
okay. And just so I know the YouTube channel again, what is it?
It's our KWJD City.
Okay,
Yeah, it should be.
thank you.
And Anthony, I think his name is Andy. Andy, go back and find the one that has Andy on it from American Preferred Home Warranty.
Ooh, there's a commercial I just shot.
Oh, yeah, it's another, yeah, actually, if you go onto their website, they have animated commercials that we can use for marketing to help us get clients with the American Home Preferred. I haven't had Andy in a minute, but the new year is coming up, so I guess I'll put him back on a rotation list.
Oh, that'd be cool. Thank you.
All is good?
Yeah, so I don't need that paper signed to get paid, but it's a good idea to have in case they sue me if one of their appliances break in the first year and they said that they were uneducated about a home warranty. Is that right?
But it also, when you do the New Jersey PA affiliated, that's on our affiliations too. So we got you covered. All those paperwork is all covered. The paperwork is to cover our assets. So
Yeah,
that people don't come after us. So
Okay.
you are covered. But if they refuse or they, refuse it, it's easy to have that one signed because they refuse it too. And as you said, we refuse.
okay. Got it. Thank you.
Just give them the 2 books, say, hey, we have 2 books, this is your first investment. Here's 2 options. If you want it, let me know. If not, I'll send you documentation either which way to accept or refuse.
Yeah,
Boom,
I guess it's been tricky for me lately because I'm finding myself doing less buyer consultations because buyers are like clicking on Zillow just to schedule a showing, and then they realize they come running to me later because they realize that they're going off with some stranger as their buyer's agent. And so they already, so by the time they get into me, it's like I'm trying to educate them, but they're already bugging me to like put an offer in and all this stuff. So I'm trying to like educate them while
Slow
we're
them down and educate them. It only going to take 45 minutes to an hour and 15 to do a buyer consultation from the beginning to the end.
yeah.
So do it over Zoom. You ain't got to sit in the office with them. I like the sitting down, the personal interaction, to be able to show them tangible books, to give them a home warranty in their hand, to give them the cards with the different attorneys and the home inspectors, and show them, like, hold their hand. But we're in COVID time, so do what's smart for you, but still do your buyer consultation online.
Yeah. Okay.
You can do a Zoom platform. It's free. Open up your Zoom account. If you're going to do one-on-one with only one person, it's unlimited time. But when you have more than one person, they only give you 40 minutes. So get your buyer consultation down to 40 minutes if you're going to have multiple people on your Zoom link.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Welcome. Everybody else good? All right. Well, thank you all for hanging out. Y'all hung out a long time with me today. So
I had a
appreciate
question,
you.
but I can ask you another time.
Oh, we're here right now. You can ask it right now.
What is that KPSS new form?
That's your title.
Is that it's a new choice that they have that we present to them? And if they want that title company, they can take it? Is it?
The easiest way is to introduce it to your attorneys that you work with and have your attorneys use that as a preferred title company as opposed to the ones that they generally would use.
And
So
they
we
have the
can
choice.
educate them that we have it, but if you align yourself with the attorneys that are using KPSS, then it's an easier transition to say, okay, Marty, order Greta's buyer inspection through KPSS. Or Marty, don't forget to use KPSS for my client.
And they can choose it or not choose it to do it.
Yeah, they can choose it or they don't have to. But
Okay, so this is,
generally title is ordered through the attorneys. If you got your attorney on lockdown and your attorney is cool, then when we give the business to the attorney is going to in turn use our title company that is going to go ahead and automatically give us the KPSS for our buyers. But we want to make sure that the attorneys we use are using KPSS.
got it.
All right. Y'all have a good 4.5 days off. I know I'm gonna try. I'll see you Sunday because I'm working with you, and hopefully everybody got some, a little bit of work to do, have some fun, but have some work to do too, because we don't get paid unless we see a check at the end of a closing.
All right, see everybody later.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Thanks, Karen.
Bye.